Happy Wednesday to you. Hump day. We made it. We made it to the middle of the week. All we got to do is just make it to Friday. All right. So, catching up on my news feeds, and I was checking out this interview, this town hall interview that Kamala Harris and Charlamagne the God recently did in Detroit. And it's so funny because I actually know some of those people who are sitting in that audience. I'm like, is that Eric? I see you, Eric. He is a staunch Democrat, you know. I'm like, yeah, the usual suspects, staunch Democrats are out to play, out to bat for Kamala Harris, right? So I was looking at the interview, and I like to give people a shot. Like, I don't like to go into things with negative emotions. I want to just be able to see, okay, is this person going to provide me any clarity about who they are, right? What their positions are, and, are they going to show me some level of conviction, right? And this interview, what's your opinion on the Israel genocide? I don't support genocide. I don't support war. So, that's my opinion on that. But I'm not here to talk about Israel. I am here to talk about this interview with Kamala Harris. Um, and she's interviewing with Charlamagne the God. And the first thing that Charlamagne had to do was go ahead and try to give her some idea of black cred. And how did he do that? Well, he had to go into the stereotypes of black people, right? What am I talking about?
Just need to get to it.
I'm with fair usage, fair usage. You guys might hear me chiming in because I don't want to strike my content.
Well, I try to be on time. Apparently, I'm 40 seconds late. You're right.
Well, you are black. So.
All right. So her tardiness is what gave her black people cred right off the bat, right? And I guess that was that moment where black people who were viewing or listening were like, I know that's right. We be on CP time, right? Go ahead, Kamala, being on your CP time. All right? We get you. You black now. She came 40 seconds late to this interview. So she came on her CP time. Not really. Because CP time, you more than 40 seconds late. Come on, baby. You more than 40 seconds late when you on CP time. But of course, Charlamagne had to go in and give her black cred, right? You're late, so you're black. Congratulations, right? But I'm just going through this interview.
Okay, now, one thing they've been saying, a lot of your press
like, oh my God, I know.
Folks say you come off as very scripted. They say you like to stick to your talking points.
I hated her response to this question.
That would be called discipline.
That's not discipline. That is not discipline. My thing is, there is a wide array of things, problems going on in this nation. Okay? Being disciplined with your little earpieces, right? She's been disciplined in wearing them same damn earrings. Ever since she got called out at the presidential debate with Trump, she has not stopped wearing them damn earrings. So she is disciplined in wearing them damn things for sure, right? But at the same time, people who, like, when you look at bloggers, when you look at independent people who can look at political things, a lot of times these people are freestyling on a number of topics that kind of can relate to each other, right? This lady is very scripted, and that's not about discipline at all. Like, to me, that's just a cover up. That's just a mask for I got something in my ear and I'm disciplined in listening to what the hell is in my ear, because she won't stop wearing them damn earrings. All right, I'm just gonna put it out there. She won't stop wearing the damn earrings that people accused her of being Nova H1s. So moving on.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but go on.
No, I was gonna say, some people say you have an inability to fearlessly say who you are and what you believe. I know that's not true. But what do you say to that criticism? And is it fair for SNL to make fun of it?
Hasn't Maya Rudolph been wonderful?
Yes.
I think I have nothing but admiration for the comedy, and I think it's important to be able to laugh at yourself and each other.
But what do you say if people
in the spirit of obviously comedy and not be belittling people as my.
And here's the thing, I don't want to belittle Kamala Harris. I don't like belittling people, right? My commentary is about qualifying her and qualifying the way that she was sold and qualifying just overall how she has presented herself. You don't hear me talking about Willie Brown over here. You don't hear me talking about Willie Brown, right? That's salacious, you know, stuff that I just have zero interest in. You won't hear me talking about, oh, she slept her way up. That's salacious. You won't hear me talking about that over here. I do more character assessments of people. And what I can see, I know a firm character, a person with conviction from somebody who is being puppeted. And I don't care what she says, she still gives puppet to me. She is a puppet to this machine that is trying to just have her as a face for whatever somebody else wants to do.
My opponent would do.
But what do you say to people who say you stay on the talking points?
I would say you're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, listen, here's the thing. I love having conversations, which is why I'm so happy to be with you this afternoon. And the reality is that there are certain things that must be repeated to ensure that I have everyone know what I stand for and the issues that I think are at stake in this election.
Mm-hmm.
And so.
Okay, so let me think about some things that Kamala Harris has repeated. She said $6,000 child tax credit for couples who have a child. We're in a nation where they're like kind of convincing people not to have kids. We live in a nation where younger people are preferring to be dog and cat moms and dad, right? So when I think about this child tax credit for, people with new babies and stuff, it's like, I mean, that doesn't apply to me or a lot of people. So does this child tax credit kind of expand out for, people? Like, how does it work with the people who already have kids? Like, do we get the $6,000 too? Or is that just for people who are having new babies, right? Because I hear that part being emphasized in her economic plan. The other thing is, she talks a lot about the $25,000 for the, housing, right? Where's this money coming from? Like, we're $35 trillion in debt. Again, I'm going to say it again. We are in no position to be giving out subsidies at all. Like, we should be really hunkering down economically and trying to bring the debt down or whatnot. But that's just a focus of mine. But I'm always like, where is any money going to come from? Because it cannot be pulled out of thin air, right? A lot of this stuff sounds really nice. And then they break a war in Iran on our asses and funds are tied up. We got to divert funds over here to some, war overseas, right? And this is kind of the repetitive thing that they do. They like dangle little carrots, like even down to reparations. She couldn't be straightforward about reparations, right? Because she's not supposed to, actually, right? But it's like now that the reparations argument is out there again, people they had already played black people in California. I knew that was some BS because, California didn't even have slaves. So it didn't even make any sense for them to be kicking off any conversation about reparations. So I knew that was a dangle, and any smart, intelligent black person at least would have known that was a dangle because California didn't even have slavery. Like, it's just so dumb to me. But they dangle these little things and then they tongue twist, right? And it's like when they know that they're not going to get the black voter base, now all of a sudden the position on reparations change and it should be studied. Let me tell you something. Reparations have already been studied. There's already been legal cases. You have so many different lawyers who have substantiated the legal case based off of the track record of systems put in place by the U.S. government and their corporate side chicks to keep black people marginalized. But again, the United States is going to pay reparations to any and everybody but black people. I don't think black people should be really losing sleep over reparations. I'm more like, if it happens, it happens. Just make sure it happens for freemen and no other people that's not qualified. Like, you need to be a descendant of slave. You need to be able to trace your family back to the 1800s in this country. Like, black looking people don't qualify for them. And that's why I don't really expect for people like Kamala Harris or even Barack Obama to really be champions of these things, because they're not freemen. They're not descendants of freemen. So they have zero investment in the real concerns of foundational freemen. So it's like they keep putting these people. I was actually catching a little bit of Candace Owens, and she's on her another little rabbit hole. And Candace is talking about Barack Obama, right? And his little history and track record. And it's like, let Candace say it the way she's narrating it. Barack Obama really wasn't even around black people. But yet they sold this dude as the first black president. And the dude is a product of immigrants and a non-black person, a non-black mom. So it's one of those things where it's the way that people are selling things and allowing themselves to be sold that's really making people feel kind of weird about these people. And again, I feel like Kamala Harris gives puppet. So for her not to be able to speak and freestyle like I'm doing right now about any and everything, right? You cannot tell me this woman is not being led by something. Them damn earrings, all right? She won't take the damn earrings off.
If until someone has heard the same thing at least 3 times, it just doesn't stick.
And for the people who are like, oh, those are Tiffany's earrings, I don't care what kind of earrings them are. Tiffany's can be working with the government and making them beautiful little earrings that she's wearing all the damn time.
With you?
They're Tiffany's government earrings, maybe.
And for that reason, yes. At my rallies, I say the same thing when I go to Detroit as I do in Philly, as I do wherever I am, to make sure that people hear and receive what I think are some of the most critical issues that are at stake in this election.
There has to be a high level of anxiety, too, when you have these conversations, though, because you are running for president.
I mean, you know what? There is certainly a lot of...
These are a lot of layups.
Of the moment.
Like, I feel like she probably was already teed up for a lot of these questions before she went into this interview.
Weight of responsibility right now to do everything I can. I'm telling you, Charlamagne, when I go to bed at night, I almost every night, in addition to my prayers, will ask, have I done everything I could do today?
I'd be wondering who some of these demons be praying to.
For which he has said if a police department does not do it, they should be defunded or not. There is so much at stake.
So she's talking about stop and frisk. And apparently they're saying that if Trump is elected, he would bring stop and frisk back. But, was it Democrats or Republicans who actually put that on the table and was really enforcing it like that? I know in New York, Democrats were really heavy on the stop and frisk, and they were disenfranchising Black and Hispanic men disproportionately. Speaking of which, this whole stop and frisk and finding creative ways to put Black men in jail and all that good jazz, or people in jail in general. Let me look up the 14th Amendment real quick, because there was this guy pointed out something about the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution that was really interesting. And I apologize, I'm just pulling it up here. I gotta look up. This guy was pointing out something in how the 14th Amendment was written that, you know, yeah, slavery is abolished, yes, but the conditions would be that if somebody was a prisoner, right? So technically, we never ended slavery in the United States. We just created like alternative ways to enslave people through a legal process. And I thought that that was just a very interesting point to make. I want to dive more into that amendment word for word to kind of understand because, I think, the creative ways in which the legal justice system has been leveraged and weaponized over the years, they get a lot of free labor just by creatively imprisoning people. And let's not ever forget that white collar white men are very much known for killing their wives because they don't want to split assets with the broad and putting it on black men that have criminal histories, right? Because nobody believes a criminal, right? So a lot of people out there doing that. Rip Marcellus Williams. Back to the program.
America is going to stand on its principles around the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity and stand with our allies around the world, or whether we're going to admire dictators and send during the height of COVID and the pandemic COVID tests that nobody could get.
So now she's just babbling about how Trump sent COVID tests over to Russia. Mind you, I know not one person, at least in my immediate circle, that was just starving for a COVID test. Like, I think a lot of people after a while started seeing COVID for what it was. And I felt like life was pretty normal outside of the government restrictions because nobody, like, I think a lot of people just started to look, especially when that BLM stuff started kicking off. It was like, how the hell are y'all locking this whole country down, but yet you giving people green lights to go protest in the middle of a pandemic, right? That's when the whole COVID narrative was like Final Destination fall apart for me. It's like there's no way in hell you got people separated from their people, not letting them spend holidays and all kinds of stuff like that together. But you got these passionately ignorant people out there protesting in the middle of a pandemic for George Floyd, a dude they didn't even know. Get out of here with that, right? That's where COVID fell apart. Wasn't nobody starving for no damn test. He could have probably sent 1,000 of those things over to Russia, Turkey, or whatever. Nobody would have really cared. That's why it wasn't news. And weren't we distributing COVID tests overseas to a number of different countries anyways?
By the hundreds during that time.
Yeah, I feel like that one has gone over people's heads. The fact that he was sending COVID tests to Putin.
I mean,
okay. If you want to be technical, Biden came in cutting off our oil and, trying to bribe Putin, right? Because Putin had a lot of oil business from the United States when Biden came into office. Because we were cutting down Keystone, right? We were trying to bribe Russia with oil into not going into Ukraine. And basically, Putin did the business for a little bit, and he was like, F you. You're not about to punk me. You're not having this nation in my backyard. That's how that kind of went down. But we were still doing business with Russia. So who cares if he sent COVID tests over there? We was giving them oil business.
And parents? Remember what that was like during the height of COVID? And a lot of it...
Now, here is the emotional appeal, right? They need us to remember what happened during COVID. You lost your grandparents. Some of us lost this. Remember that? Violins. And he sent these tests over to Russia. My God.
Scrambling for the resources and needed tests. And Donald Trump, during that time, secretly sent COVID tests to the president of...
Well, it's not a damn secret if they know about it. I mean... It wasn't a secret if she knows about it.
Russia.
I'm pretty sure other agency had to know about it because it was being sent overseas, vicariously through the United States government. So somebody else had to know about the secret.
Wait, do not forget, in the 2016 election, because I was a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee when we investigated it, targeted black voters in 2016 with mis and disinformation to discourage black people from voting in that election.
Now, what was that mis and disinformation that was being targeted to black people? Like, what was it? Like, I didn't see. What was the mis and disinformation that was targeted to black people?
Just another of the very many examples of who Donald Trump really is.
Is that part of the Russia hoax? Like, is that part of is she talking about the little Russia hoax that the Democrats had?
To real people.
Sending COVID tests to Russia, that doesn't sound very America first at all. But
weren't we sending COVID tests all over the world? Like, I'm just trying to understand, like, weren't we sending these tests all over the world? Hold on. Hang on, I just gotta hide somebody from my channel because I don't do trolls. Trolls are demonic, so I gotta rebuke these demons and get them gone if I'm paying attention to the chat. But I probably never voted in my life. You can shut up. You don't know what I probably did. But anyways, you guys, I love the passionately ignorant people because they come up here lodging their assumptions and their insults. It's like, don't nobody care about your ugly ass but you. You just need to make somebody else feel bad because you hate yourself every day. Get off my block. But anyways, getting back, this is why I don't read the comments, because they these little demons try to distract me from the thinking.
Pieces of misinformation. One of the biggest allegations against
they hate seeing black people think. They hate seeing intelligent black people. In San Francisco for it strikes a nerve in their little demonic soul. It's like, oh my God, you're supposed to have low IQ. You're not supposed to be able to put things together.
Who around those days will tell you
your education system didn't work on me.
Prosecutor in California on marijuana cases and would not send people to jail for simple possession of weed. And as vice president, have been a champion for bringing marijuana down on the schedule. So instead of it being ranked up there with heroin, we bring it down. And my pledge is, as president, I will work on decriminalizing it because I know exactly how those laws have been used to disproportionately impact certain populations and specifically black men.
So she's saying that the allegations that people have been saying Tulsi Gabbard was the one who actually started, this sort of idea. Let me go back and look at that Tulsi Gabbard when Tulsi Gabbard and Kamala Harris were debating. Because I don't think that Kamala Harris during that exchange with Tulsi Gabbard ever refuted that she did not lock up black men disproportionately.
A woman
she
with
never
no friends or a very small...
Oh, I love this. This man is talking my language. But let me open up another window because I don't want to lose this interview. But I think Tulsi Gabbard was the one who called Kamala Harris out on locking up black men disproportionately, and she didn't have a rebuttal to that, I don't believe. What you say? Let me see what Tulsi said.
Yeah. Senator Harris, you have also been quite critical of Vice President Biden's policies on race, specifically on the issue of busing in the 1970s, having benefited from busing when you were a young child. Vice President Biden says that your current position on busing, you're opposed to federally mandated busing, that position is the same as his position. Is he right?
That is simply false.
Okay, this is about the busing. And I think Candace Owens kind of ripped her one about that little story. Here we go, Tulsi.
Congresswoman Gabbard, you took issue with Senator Harris confronting Vice President Biden at the last debate. You called it a, quote, false accusation that Joe Biden is a racist. What's your response?
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence.
And she looking like, damn, I got caught.
That would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Senator Harris, your response?
What was her response?
As the elected Attorney General of California, I did the work of significantly reforming the criminal justice system of a state of 40
She's not
million
denying
people,
it. See?
which became a national model for the
She's
work
not
that needs to be
denying
done.
it. She
And I
is
am
not
proud of that
denying
work.
it.
And I am proud of making a decision to not just give fancy speeches or be in a legislative
Word
body and
salad.
give speeches on the floor, but actually doing the work of being in the position to use the power that I had to reform a system that is badly in need of reform. That is why we created initiatives that were about re-entering former offenders and getting them counseling. It is why, and because I know that criminal justice system is so broken, that I am an advocate for what we need to do to not only...
Word salad, she didn't deny it. She did not deny it. She didn't deny it. She did not deny it, right? If you didn't do that, the first thing I would have said is, what she's saying is false. That is unequivocally not true. That would be the first thing I said. That would be the first tomato in that word salad that she just said, right? That is unequivocally not true. She goes into this diatribe about basically standing on what she's done in the criminal justice system. It's only really now where she's like, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. I mean, this is what she's telling to Charlamagne.
Criminalizing it because I know exactly how those laws have been used to disproportionately impact certain populations and specifically Black men.
She knows it well because she's probably been an executor of them, you know? Yeah, let's let you go.
Before we get into the talkback feature and take some questions from the audience, I do want to talk to you about the legalization of weed, because you're saying you want to legalize it now. What steps did the Biden administration take to get closer to that reality?
So we had to work with the DEA, and there's a certain level of bureaucracy that exists in the federal government that slows things down, but essentially
So I really feel like Charlamagne was asking her, what made you guys get to the point of making this decision? That was really the question he was asking her. Is you were talking about legalizing marijuana. What got you, the Biden administration, to this point? She's talking about all the channels of approval. So here's a word salad for you.
To bring down how weed is classified, how marijuana is classified, to make it classified as a lesser harm. And so that took some time. There's a whole process around that, but that's the work that we have done, in addition to
that wasn't the
work
question
that we have done writ large on criminal justice reform.
Okay, let's take some calls.
This is a good call that's about to come up. But that was not the question being asked, right? He's trying to ask her what led you to this decision, right? And of course she can't say, well, I'm trying to get Black men to vote for me. So I got to really, make weed, legalize their weed, make sure they feel safe about their weed. Okay. That's basically, what, she's kind of putting out there. She didn't answer the question. She just
takes a word salad. Let's go to the talkback feature.
My question for Kamala is,
now this girl,
why are we, and I say we because my tax dollars is sending the money, why are we sending money to other countries when we desperately need it in our own country for homeless, housing, resources, or whatever? That is my determining factor if I vote for Kamala or not.
So I want to make it clear that Black people have real issues that we're concerned about, right? It's not about if you're Black or white, Puerto Rican, whatever. It's like these are real issues. I did a video earlier. These black men, they are saying they don't like the influx of the human liabilities in this country, right? This woman, she's concerned with the amount of money being sent overseas to other countries, right? So these are legitimate issues that black Americans, like so many other Americans who are not black, they care about these things. We actually care about where our earnings are going. You guys are taxing us all in these little creative ways, and we want to know, why is our earnings going over there and what is the ROI? Because everything can't be about the national security when you're creatively short squeezing people, especially when you're $35 trillion in debt and you got 16 to 20 million human liabilities. And somebody was like, they're not welfare case. You got to have an ID. You have to be legal. BS. BS. These people were staying in 5-star hotels, some of them. Like these people are getting money. They are getting care packages. And that money is not coming off of these trees. Somebody has to pay for this stuff. And we're like $35 trillion in debt. So we can almost guarantee that every working American, their child, and their child, and their child is going to be paying for this.
That's one of the reasons the America First rhetoric resonates, because nobody in America would complain about where money was going if American citizens' everyday needs were being met. So what do you say to that?
We can do it all, and we do.
So she's saying we can do it all, and we do. Okay, I need to understand this. We can do it all, and we do. So that means that every single American has housing. Every single American is just taken care of. I'm not talking about these human liabilities. I'm talking about the people born legacies of Americans on this land. They are 100% taken care of. Right? That's what she's saying. We can do it all, and we have been doing it all.
First of
why
all,
are Americans so
I
disenfranchised?
maintain very strongly,
Why are they so
America should
upset
never
about
pull
their money?
ourselves
Why are they
away
so
from our
uncertain? We're not doing a
responsibility
lot
as a world leader.
but causing a lot of uncertainty.
And that is in the best interest of our national security and each one of us as Americans and our standing in the world. That being said, we also have an obligation to American citizens, obviously, and people who are here to meet their everyday needs and challenges, which is why, for example, we have done the work in the last 4 years of bringing down the cost of prescription medication, whether it be $35 a month for seniors for insulin or $2,000 a year cap on prescription medication. What we have done that has been about putting $17 billion in our HBCUs. I am proud to be the first HBCU vice president of the United States. I intend to be the first HBCU president of the United States. Those resources are about sending them to centers of academic excellence that I know them to be. The work that I continue to do is about...
I mean, can we keep it a buck? All right. Can we just keep it a buck? HBCU needs better graduation rates. Like, they can't keep asking the U.S. government for money and not really turning out high percentages of good graduates. Look at their numbers. Look at their numbers. That's not a brag point.
It's about
You're just giving money to schools that don't even have high graduation rates.
It is about increasing
compared to other
opportunity
schools
for home ownership, knowing that Black people are 40% less likely to be homeowners in America. We have a history of legal and procedural obstacles to that home ownership, starting with the fact nobody got 40 acres and a mule, to redlining, to issues.
So nobody got their reparations that was promised by the U.S. government, right? She's so aware of some of these challenges of Black people, yet she can't be straightforward about a reparations conversation.
This Detroit area, people around the country know to be real. So part of my plan is that we're going to give people a $25,000 down payment assistance to get their foot in the door.
Where is the money going to come from? We're $35 trillion in debt.
Increase housing supply in America, knowing that that's one of the reasons that rents and housing prices are jacked up, and to work with the private sector, cut through the red tape, and work to build more housing, 3 million before the end of my first term. And I give these examples, and there are many more which I will offer. So, for example, the work that I will do to extend the child tax credit to $6,000 for young families during the first year of their child's life. Because
that just really doesn't help a lot of other people. What if they don't want to have kids?
I pushed that we would do it during our first year as president, through cooperation and partnership with some of the big banks and tech companies, to get more access to capital for our entrepreneurs, for our businesses. I participate in a process that's about improving things. And by voting in this election, you have two choices, or you don't vote, but you have two choices if you do. And it's two very different visions for our nation.
Locke Jr., I want you to meet him. He is the senior pastor of Triumph Church. Where's Reverend Ken Locke?
I was just out at Triumph Church a couple of months ago.
Yeah, all right.
Beautiful church out here in Detroit.
What's up, Reverend?
Madam Vice President Charlamagne,
Yes,
thank
sir.
y'all for being in Detroit tonight.
Thank you.
Recently, Madam Vice President, by one of Trump's surrogates from the Black faith-based community, you've been criticized by him and others for your lack of engagement to the Black church. Knowing that the Black church...
I don't care about this question because I don't believe that religion and politics should be fused. I don't believe politicians should be in churches, to be honest with you. I think it's a disgusting fusion.
For my pledge going forward, I will always work closely with the church because I understand who our church leaders are and who the congregation is.
A bunch
It's
of
about
apostates.
and let's full time trying to suggest that the measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down, which is absolutely contrary to the church I know.
He sells Bibles, though.
Where our church and my church is about saying true leadership, the measure of that is based on
She's trying to, she on her Martin Luther King word salad.
to the lowest Black unemployment ever in our country, but that also knowing that that should be a baseline, that everybody has a job. And what we should be invested in is also building wealth in the community and intergenerational.
You know, it's just like what we should do, but it's just like we know we need to do these things. How do we do it? Like the first thing is we need to go and we got to look at what NAFTA did. And that was bipartisan, right? When you want to talk about generational sustainable wealth for the labor class in America, which most of Americans are, they're labor class people, right? So you're talking about manufacturing folks, right? When you start taking manufacturing and just divvying it up overseas, right? You start disenfranchising your American workers. So the first thing that they need to do is like, okay, we need to look at where we went wrong with NAFTA. How can we kind of go back and look and kind of reverse some of the things that we did, start making some of these companies have more production in the United States. And yeah, it's going to cost them more. But here's the thing, all this overseas production, we're not even getting durability. We're not even getting durability out of a lot of these products that are being produced overseas, mass produced overseas. I think most people can look at your everyday products and even your vehicles, parts and stuff that should have been lasting a lot longer, and they don't. You know, so it would be nice to bring some quality to certain sectors back to the Americas and have them exclusively in America, right? This is how, to me, real problem solvers work, right? You work back on the root causes of the problem, right? So we went from $3 trillion of debt in 1993, and now we're at $35 trillion. How the hell did we get here? How the hell did we get here? Right? We got to work backwards. What did all of that spending do for the United States? What was the ROI? And then that way we can say we can never allocate money to those things again because we didn't get a return on investment. And I think if America, everybody calls this nation a corporation. We're a big ass corporation. And yet we're running around like a corporation ran by a bunch of idiots. A corporation that puts itself in debt. And because you have military power, you think that it's okay to do that. And it's not. It really isn't. And a lot of other nations have gotten smart. They've gotten smarter to our tactics and our strategies, and they're over there hedging. We can sanction. Do you understand that those sanctions did nothing to Russia? They still stayed the course. They still stayed the course. These nations have learned how to hedge against the United States with their economic warfare. So now we got plan. We're basically plan B in it at this point. This nation is run by idiots.
Many examples of that. But again, part of the challenge that I face is that
we need real people, like real regular people,
scare people
in
away
offices making
because they
decisions
know
in
they
this
otherwise
nation,
have
not these
nothing to
bureaucrats,
run on.
these
Ask Donald
side
Trump what
chicks,
his plan
these
is for
government
Black
raised puppets.
Ask him.
We don't need them anymore.
What-
They
you know,
suck.
I'll
They're
tell you what it
ruining
is. Look at
America.
Project 2025. Project 2025 tells you the plan includes.
Now, I heard that the Democrats have their own little Project 2025. I heard that, what is Agenda 47? Isn't that like the Democrats' version of their Project 20? Both of these parties are trying to figure out how to get optimum control so that nobody can freak the elections again, right? Like, how do we maintain power forever, right? And, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a mission of both of these people.
The plan includes making it more difficult for workers to receive overtime pay. The plan includes ending the ability of Medicare to negotiate drug prices. You know what we have done? He said he would. We did. Which means that's how we brought down the cost of prescription medication.
The government is in bed with all these countries. Let me tell you, they can bring down the cost of any damn thing anytime they want to, because all they got to do is start bribing with these little welfare checks to these corporations, subsidies and all that stuff, and they can get some prices down. Like, they act like this shit is like superhero stuff. Y'all in bed with these companies. Stop acting like this is something that is just so difficult to do. It's like most of these companies in the United States, they're beholden to the government. They're like side chicks to the government. And you can tell the companies who are real punks, right? Because those were the companies that were forcing the vaccine on their people.
Nevada. I'd like to ask Madam Vice President what laws does she have planned to make sure that there's a stop to police brutality and murders that have been going on viciously?
So again,
now I don't really, I hope he's talking about the migrants.
The work that I have done through my career, and then most recently, even when I was in the United States Senate, to help write the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. Cory Booker and I work very closely on that.
Could you tell people why that didn't pass? To give folks a quick civics lesson.
We couldn't get the votes in Congress. Well, there's a clip somewhere of me fighting with a Republican senator to actually.
Same difference.
Right.
So that George Floyd Policing Act never passed Congress is what she's saying. Her and I remember her and Cory Booker were
we couldn't get it
touting that.
passed, but what we did,
they couldn't get it passed because they're not that
during
influential.
The time that I've been vice president, is we passed an executive order. So whereas we were trying, and I have been trying to make these things national so that everyone would have to do it, an executive order by the president and our administration says that for federal law enforcement, the following things have to happen, which we for the first time put in place: no knock warrants, barring chokeholds. A national database. Now it's for federal law enforcement, but a national database for us to collect information and track police officers who have broken the law. And this is no small issue, this piece, in addition to everything else, because as we know, we've seen plenty of examples of a police officer who committed misconduct in one jurisdiction and then goes to another jurisdiction and gets hired because
I agree with that.
There's no place that's tracking.
Because that's what happened to what's the lady who just got recently was shot and killed by the police officer with the boiling hot water, Sandra Massey, right? That's really kind of like the scenario there. Because when you look at the track record of that cop, he had so many issues. I'm surprised that he even qualified to be a cop with the stuff that he had on his own damn rap sheet. So I do rock with a database like this. I think that something like this should be at the state level, right? Because we got a lot of people who are beta males with guns. They were previously bullied. Now they got a badge and a gun and they out here flexing on folks because they can. And so I'm not saying that all cops are like that. Like I said, there are some blue bloods, real good people out there who are living by the code of the oath and the badge. But there are some people who are passionately ignorant, running around with a badge, flexing their ignorant emotions, terrorizing citizens. And so I do agree with a system like this because these people shouldn't be on the streets. They should not be partnering with communities if they have a loose screw in their damn head. And some of these guys have worse criminal records than the criminals that they're policing, because you pull over a guy for drugs, but you got assault and battery on your file, right? And you done moved into another district. It's like that stuff got to stop. That does got to stop.
Their misconduct. So these are some of the things that we've done. And then listen, I'm still going to always work on getting the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act passed. Part of the work that I'm doing as a candidate for President of the United States includes lifting up those candidates who are running either for re-election or for the first time to Congress, who are supportive of what we need to do on all of the issues we've been discussing, whether it be freedom to vote and passing the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement.
That's not even necessary. What the hell? That John Lewis vote, like, it's not passing because it's stupid. Everybody who is a legal U.S. citizen has the right to vote. Right? They want to pass nonsense, right? Like, voting has been very cut and dry in the United States for a very long time, right? And I'm not talking about Jim Crow and all that, none of that bullshit. For the most part, our elections have been straightforward, right? If you are a U.S. citizen, you got ID, you go into your district, you show, right? If you cannot have an ID to vote, then nobody should be able to get on a plane. Nobody should be able to go to a club. None of that stuff. Because all of those things require ID. And I don't know not one Black person that has had a difficult time getting an ID, because many of us work, we go to the clubs, we travel, so we know we need our ID on us. So it's like that John Lewis Voting Act thing was just a big bag of garbage that they're trying to use to kind of incite some, civil rights feeling in next generation Blacks. And sorry, we just not about to be on that. Like, we just can't live our lives like you people choose to live your lives. So, like, no, that's why this shit is not passing, because some of it don't make any sense.
Any brutality,
it's like it's like a political showboat. Right? And so at least we have at least some sensible people in Congress. Like, look, we're not going to label a whole bunch of struggle junkie shit and pass it, right, for some political brownie points. And that's why they didn't get their brownies.
Including police brutality when
they didn't get their brownies.
I think a lot of the frustration
that
comes
was
from
some BS.
People who will say sometimes politicians volunteer lies because, yes, it's great to try to pass the George Floyd Policing Act, but you probably know you can't get the votes. So why push that? Why push that on?
But
absolutely. Thank you, Charlamagne. That was like a really good pushback question.
When and where it occurs.
I think a lot of the frustration comes from people who will say sometimes politicians volunteer lies because, yes, it's great to try to pass the George Floyd Policing Act, but you probably know you can't get the votes. So why push that? Why push that on?
Because showboating.
I don't subscribe to that approach, and I'm going to tell you why. It took
like,
a long
look, she
time.
got to look up in the ear. She's like, oh, this is a tough one. Earpiece guy, what? Tell me what to say.
For the Voting Rights Act to get done. It took the brutality of what happened when John Lewis and all those were trying to cross the Edmund Pettus Bridge. It took a lot of work over our history to do what we have accomplished.
That earpiece is working, y'all.
And
them earrings is working.
Committed.
How do you convince Republican senators, as you just said?
Well, part of it, part of it is that their constituents are part of this. I mean, we have plenty of folks who want this, who live in districts where they serve, and this is the point. This gets back to the earlier point about you can't let anybody take you out of the game by not voting. the solutions, and maybe this is the point
This
you're making
is
about
not the 60s. Like, this woman is living in the 60s in her mind where people can't vote. Like, legal citizens can't vote. It's like, what are these people talking about? I mean, it's just they're trying to create a civil right that has already been granted.
And the solutions that we all want are not going to happen in totality because of one election. But here's the thing. The things that we want and are prepared to fight for won't happen if we're not active and if we don't participate. We cannot allow circumstances to take us out the game, because then basically what we're saying is all those people who are obstructionists, who are standing in the way of change, they're winning. Because they're convincing people that it can't be done, so take yourself out, don't participate. Look at that circle. Look at that vicious circle then. So let's not fall for it.
Zeke, this is my man.
I
Zeke.
don't
He's the
really even
president
know
and
where
CEO
that
of New Era
particular
Detroit.
dialogue
He
went
wants to talk
from
to you
A to
about
B.
your
I
black
just
male
don't like.
Okay, good.
for the black community. Just your agenda for the black community, period. Zeke, what's up, brother?
What up, though? What up, though?
Go ahead,
Madam
Zeke.
Vice
Big
President
Zeke.
Charlamagne the God. What up, though? And welcome to Detroit.
Yes, sir.
It's good to be back.
I like to say the real Detroit because I'm up in here.
That's what's up. What up, though?
My name is Zeke, New Era founder and CEO. I've worked on the ground here in Detroit and in black communities all across the country for over the past 10 years, actually celebrating our 10th year this past August.
All right.
In my 10 years of organizing, we played a major role in the resurgence of pride and the change of mindset in Detroit
You
neighborhoods.
said it's
across the
hard to
city.
listen to Kamala and
We're not
her
only known for
lies.
the work that we do here in Detroit, but across the
It
country
is
in
kind
black
of like
communities.
perplexing the
Having
word
worked in over
salad.
35
She's
cities
not really going
of the
direct
blackest
on
cities
these
in America.
questions straightforward.
Saying all that to say, I'm extremely qualified to sit in front of the current
You
vice
said, who
president.
cares? If you
and
don't
which
care,
can be
why are
the
you
next
here?
president of the
You
United
literally
States of
just
America.
typed the words, who cares?
As I pose my question
And
to you,
yet
I
here
would first
you
like
are,
to make it
using
known
your energy
that I don't
to
have
type
any
who
emotional
cares.
connections to
Go
politicians.
somewhere.
I believe that this is one of our biggest flaws in the current political process. I view politics as a business, and America is one of the biggest corporations in the world. With that being said, I'm here on behalf of the business of the black community. With all that black Americans have been through and contribute to the success of America, I feel that there should be
He's
an
asking her
in-depth
about
investigation or
reparations.
evaluation of the lack of resources and current living conditions in black communities nationwide. My question to you is, what's your stance on reparations? We all know that America became great, off the backs of free black labor. How progressive are you on making it a priority and righting America's wrongs? It's understood that you are running for president for all people of America. Asking for specifics for black communities doesn't mean don't do for others, but black Americans are heavily asked to vote Democrat in every election for over half a century, with very little in return. What are your plans to address these very important issues and change that narrative?
That's a heavy question.
Appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you for your work. So to your point, yes, I am running to be a president for all Americans. That being said, I do have clear eyes about the disparities that exist and the context in which they exist, meaning history, to your point. So my agenda, well, first of all, on the point of reparations, it has to be studied. There's no question about that.
See,
And I've
this
been
is the Democrats' go-to response when it comes to anything that black people ask. It's always going to be, it needs to be studied. What the hell was Gavin Newsom and them black folks in California doing for the last 4 damn years? Were they not studying the case for reparations? Because California damn sure didn't have a case for reparations. So I don't even know why they kicked off a study there again. But didn't they already study the case for reparations?
very clear about that position. In terms of my immediate plan, I will tell you a few of the following. One, as it relates to the economy, which is a lot of what you have addressed. Look, I grew up in the middle class. My mother worked hard, raised me and my sister, and
she didn't have a house until I was a teenager.
She was able to afford our first home. I know what it means for an individual and a family to have home ownership. I also know, in the context of history, nobody got 40 acres and a mule. We have a history of a number of things, including redlining. Detroit knows it well. A history of, for example, something that still exists that I've worked on to address.
Yeah, Detroit is being gentrified like hell. Historically, black, middle-class neighborhoods, well-off, great prime real estate is being just bought by non-blacks. And the neighborhoods that, your middle-class, decent wealth black people, right? It was always beautiful when you go to like Sherwood Forest or Palmer Woods and you see these mansions and you see these black people coming out of these mansions and they're doctors and they're lawyers, and it was just a beacon of black wealth. And I used to live over there about 8 years ago for about 7 years, or not 7 years, I'm sorry, for about 4 years. It was just a great area. And, my kid's father, he still has a house over there. And, I notice, when I'm over there, it's not the same. I'm like, what happened to the neighborhood? There's LGBTQ flags all over the damn place now. I'm like, what in the hell? What in the Ferndale is going on over here? Because that's basically what's going on in them neighborhoods. It's like these people, they're getting bought out of their homes. They're dangling these carrots and it's just gentrified like hell in Detroit these days.
Which is racial bias and home appraisals. And we know home ownership
just
is
buying the black folks out of their homes and their legacies.
Less likely to be homeowners than others. And that home ownership is one of the surest ways to build intergenerational wealth. Right? Because when you own a home, that's when if your child says, Daddy, I want to go to college, you can say, sweetheart, don't have to take out a loan. I'll take some equity out of the house. Or if your child says, I want to start a small business, same point, right? So my plan includes making sure that for first-time home buyers, they have a $25,000 down payment assistance to just get their foot in the door, because we know folks will work hard, they'll save, and pay that monthly mortgage. Second point is to bring down the cost of housing generally, because one of the issues is we have a housing supply shortage, and so that's about working with the private sector. In terms of our small businesses, which are part of the backbone of the economy of the black community and part of the backbone of America's economy.
I guess, my thing is, that's going to be a huge stretch with the private sector to lower the housing costs. I mean, I'm thinking about all these firms who have just went into these residential areas and they've offered these people like double and triple the market value of their homes, right? I mean, I can't imagine these people are going to be lowering their prices. I mean, they're going to need to get an ROI, right? In a lot of these areas being gentrified like they are, the market value of the homes are not going to go down because they're trying to get prime people into those areas. So I can't imagine the value of certain area homes actually being able to go down, because depending on who's owning those homes, right, it's just not going to be a valuable thing for them.
Large. My second mother, the woman who helped raise us, was a small business owner. I know who our small business owners are, and I have convened black small business owners way before I was running for president in my official office at the White House to talk with young entrepreneurs, mostly young, about the work that they are doing that is about clean energy work, technology, as well as the traditional, whether it be a barbershop or a restaurant. One of the big issues facing black entrepreneurs and black small businesses is access to capital. Because unlike my opponent, who got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, don't forget that, calls himself a businessman, not everybody has access to the capital, but we know in the community.
Okay, I'm not down for demonizing people for inheriting wealth and actually being able to use it to build businesses. I mean, that's not everybody's lot. Donald Trump did have an advantage in life, but I'm not going to fault the dude for having that advantage, right? I mean, again, we all start off in life differently. Um, but I work with small businesses quite a bit, and I do more pro bono work for them, right? And I think, having capital for your business is one thing. Having a viable business idea that the market wants for a long time, that's another thing. I talk to some of these small businesses, and I just ask simple questions like, why did you start your business, right? Oh, well, I love making candles, right? And you look at their candles and it's nothing like super unique about them, right? They're charging $25 for their handmade candles. And I'm looking at this bullshit like I can go out into the market, buy a cheaper candle, right? And the only reason why I would buy your candle is because you gave me a reason to like you. Like, or because your candles are so unique from anything else that I can get from the market that, I just have to buy them for you. That's not really the case with a lot of small business owners. They don't even do feasibility studies to even know how to use the capital, even if they got it, right? So, I think there should be some rigorous education given to some of these small business owners before you just give them capital, because a lot of them setting themselves up to fail anyways with their poor ideas. And this is just real honestly. Nobody tells people things honestly. I will always be honest with people because there's no sense in lying to folks.
As Vice President,
having them waste time on some bullshit.
Billions of dollars into community banks. And as Vice President, part of that work will also be to change the tax deduction for startup small businesses from $5,000 to $50,000. Because
I can't take this interview anymore, guys. I really can't. I just got off from work and just all of this shit is just her voice, the word salads. Overall opinions about it. She still got the earrings in her ears, so probably somebody's talking in her ear, coaching her through this interview, this softball interview with Charlamagne. They love giving this lady. They're gonna give her layups all the time. All she got to do is just dunk. I will say that they were like, hey, go look at some self-assured black women and let's try to emulate that character, because I do feel like she had a slight inch of more confidence to her, delivery. And I say very, very slight, where she was looking like she was working hard to look like she was self-assured. So I gave her brownie points on that. She did look a lot better in this interview, but again, I'm never inspired by Kamala Harris after she talks. Like, I mean, I'm just not. Like, and so again, you guys, you do what you need to do, right? And you make the decision that works best for you. What else is on my radar? That was it. Like, I only wanted to talk about that interview with Charlamagne. I didn't really expect too much out of it. I think character-wise, she kind of was a little bit more poised, right? But she word saladed a lot of those questions. They were layups. And she just, kind of ran her all around a merry-go-round instead of being direct. I think when it comes to that conversation about black men, locking them up disproportionately, I think she's trying to walk back, clean that up any way that she can. But when she was first confronted about that from Tulsi Gabbard, she did not deny it. She didn't say that's not true. She went into her normal word salad about her work.
She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California.
And I'm just going to do like a quick, Now, if somebody's telling a bunch of lies about me, right? You know, my face cannot be controlled, right? I'm gonna be doing all my emphatic gestures will be uncontrollable because I'll be like I wish I could say, "Bitch, you lying," right? But Kamala's face
today. Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president. But I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence.
Okay. No nodding of the head like, no, I didn't. That's not true. That's not true. She did not do none of that. Like, didn't nod her head. That's not true. It was almost like, damn, she got me.
She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place.
Now, she said that's not true. That she did not keep people. She mouthed that part, that wasn't true.
So she kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail.
Okay, now that was the only thing that wasn't true for Kamala. All them other things that Tulsi said, they might have been true because she didn't deny them with her mouth. That little keeping them longer, that was the only thing she denied.
Place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Senator Harris, your response.
As the elected Attorney General of California, I did the work of significantly reforming the criminal justice system of a state of 40 million people.
Not denying
which
anything.
Became a national model for the work that needs to be done.
Didn't deny anything.
I am proud of that work. And I am proud of...
She's proud of her work, right? She didn't deny anything that Tulsi Gabbard said, though. She didn't. And if none of those things that Tulsi said was true, she would have came out swinging point by point, debunking each point that Tulsi made. No, she came out with a word salad talking about how she stand on all the little things that she did. So, anyways, Charlamagne gave another Kamala Harris layup interview, right? There's no way she could have bombed that interview because it was set up for her to be successful, right? Charlamagne was not going to super press her or anything, but I will say that he did come with some pressurized questions, right? That she needed to go to the earpiece. Sometimes it looked like she was going to the earpiece, right? I swear them earrings are earpieces. But anyways, you guys, she's going to legalize weed. Hopefully that's her plan. Hopefully that will inspire Black men to want to support her. And if she's elected, maybe that would be something that will, get her reelected as well. She says she would legalize weed, which weed is such a taboo subject for me. Like, I really do believe that the federal government for that particular substance should really have no control over it. It's a freaking plant. It grows from the ground. Anything that grows from the ground, I don't think the federal government should be controlling. I think that should be a state-controlled thing because obviously you do want to mind the distribution of something like that. But I've never really agreed with the marijuana regulations around, especially the medicinal side of the house too. So we will see. I love that Charlamagne asked her what brought you to... what did she say? What was that question that they were, weed. What brought you guys to wanting to legalize this? And she obviously had a word salad, but I think what he was trying to see is, was this a decision that you're putting on the table because you need Black men to vote for you? And you know how Black men, not all of them, but their stereotype image of Black men, how they love their weed. So let me know what you guys think about this. Check out my video last night. I was talking about Stephen A. Smith not really having it. A lot of people not having it with this Obama coming out, scolding Black men about their voting decision. Some guy jumped in my chat and was like, Obama was not scolding Black men. Obama was informing Black men. But my whole thing is, how you going to inform somebody about their feelings? Because Obama was like, I think some of you feel. So how's that informing somebody? And you guys are so misogynistic that you need to go alternative or vote for somebody that denigrates you. I did it, guys. I had such a hard time with that word denigrate in my last live stream. My brain just did not want to see it spelled, and nor did it want to say it. But Obama's out here telling black men, like, how dare you, consider somebody who denigrates you, right? So that was a scolding. That was not an informing. Some of these little Democrat shills, they love like double talking. They like double talking demons. That man was scolding. He tried to come out shaming black men, right? And then when they got shamed for their shaming, right, now they want to walk back and was like, he was just being informative. No, the hell he wasn't. It just didn't work out well for him. But anyways, you guys, have a wonderful, wonderful day. What is this? 7 allegations, 8, the allegation against Diddy's sons. I can't deal with the Diddy stuff. It's just too much. It's just too much for my brain, and I can't deal with it. But Info Warrior, I think I saw you in there. Thank you so much for the content moderation. I know we can only do so much in these conversations when the trolls come, but I do appreciate your support of this channel and moderating. God bless you guys. Hey, love your neighbors as yourself. If you would not disrespect or mistreat yourself, don't disrespect and mistreat your neighbor. All right. And remember, the closest neighbor you have is the people in your household. So I will talk to you guys later. Hopefully, maybe I'll do a coffee chat in the morning time if there's something interesting. But I got to tell you guys, this political cycle is boring me at this point. All of it. It's just boring me. I just really want it to be over, right? I want to see which one of these people are selected, and I want to just move on with my life. I want people to wind down on their political fervor and hate and just get back to a little normalcy of not being centered focused on the political cycle witching, right? I want to get back to normal, like just some level of normalcy without all the fervor. So whether it's Kamala Harris, she seems to be very confident. She said, I'm going to win. She said she's going to win. I don't understand how the polls got these people neck and neck. They keep saying it's neck and neck. It's tight. I don't believe the polls. I don't believe the polls. I believe the people on the street. And I just feel like the real current word on the street is that it's going to go one way. But Kamala Harris is very confident that she is going to win. So maybe she'll get the Biden treatment and she will win. And we see Trump lose another one. But anyways, you guys have a wonderful day, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.